if you have thought about selling your home, you've probably gotten door knocks from some crazy people. You've probably gotten letters, phone calls, messages from above. Random people are telling you you need to sell your home right now, but nobody is taking the time to explain exactly why that is. So I want to do that. Today I want to sit down and go through the numbers and explain exactly why I think now is the perfect time to sell your home and potentially the best time you will have in a long time to sell your home and get everything you could want for from a buyer. It's Andrew Parker, your real estate agent here in sunny Southern California, helping you with your real estate needs. If you or anyone you know is looking to buy or sell around Orange County, feel free to give me a call. I would be happy to help. All right, let's get into today's video. All right, the question is, why have prices shot up as much as they have over the past 2 years? In my mind, I think there are three main reasons. The first one is demand. Demand has gone up a ton for a few reasons. First off, people can work from anywhere now. Remote work has been so new to everybody that you've realized, hey, I can be in a different state than where my company is and still get the job done. And because of that, I might be able to live for a less expensive quality of or cost of living. So people have moved out of state. On top of that, for the people who have stayed in the higher priced areas, demand has built up because prices have been so high and inventory is moving so quickly that demand kind of just keeps on piling up. This big snowball that's fallen down the mountain. Now, the next thing is we run into an issue with inventory. Our inventory has gone down drastically. And this is a few reasons. One, new listing or new construction has taken a lot longer to build because of supply chain shortages. And on top of that, people have not been wanting to sell their homes as much because they're worried about having sick people in their houses. And additionally, even in some areas where our inventory has been relatively normal, it's moving so fast. Homes are selling right now in Orange County in 8 days. I mean, that you literally get a week in order to decide, submit an offer, and get accepted with your home when it used to take 20 to 30 days in some cases. So inventory has gone down, not just by how many people are wanting to sell, but how long inventory has lasted on the market. And our third big reason was something that was forced upon us, which is interest rates. So interest rates have gone down drastically. This brings prices up because it's cheaper to borrow money. Buyers now have more purchasing power. So in turn, they're able to offer more on homes, they're able to afford more, and prices go up. On top of that, interest rates have affected demand and inventory because when interest rates go down, more buyers can afford more, so there's more demand. And then additionally, people who own homes currently can refinance, making their current home maybe less expensive to live in, and inventory will go down. People don't want to sell their home anymore. All right, so that's the past, but let's talk about the present. Right now, we are at the end of January, and that's going to be that red dotted line that goes up. In order to understand what will happen with prices, let's figure out what's going on with the three things that drive prices in the first place, right? So let's start off with interest rates. Okay, so anybody who's been following the economy, the stock market, any news really knows about inflation, right? And over the past week, we got an announcement from Jerome Powell of the Fed that they are going to be raising interest rates later on. He hinted at it. It's implied that they are going to be raising interest rates later on, maybe in March or sometime later in the year. Now, they're doing this to start slowing the amount of inflation we have. You might be thinking to yourself, well, if interest rates are going to rise in the future, that doesn't impact me now. And also, I'm a seller. Why do I care about interest rates? Well, you care about interest rates for really two main reasons. First off, if you're wanting to buy a home with a loan, you'd probably want interest rates to be low for yourself. But also, your buyers who are using a loan in order to purchase your home, they're going to have less purchasing power. That's going to get downward pressure on your prices, which we'll go over in a second. Now, for those of you wondering why interest rates in the future matter in the present, it's because they are already priced into what banks are charging their borrowers. So you can see this giant shoot up right here. In the past month, at the end of that graph, in the past month, we have jumped tremendously. Any of you out there who are trying to get a loan, trying to get pre-approved, you know from your lender, they probably explained that they've jumped about 0.5% in just 4 weeks, which might not sound like a ton, but in that short amount of time, it really is a lot. On top of that, where we stand right now at 3.56, we are now at or above the pre-pandemic levels of interest rates, which the pandemic really started around this gray area here where I circled, and we're already at or above that area in terms of interest rates today. Now, what do rising interest rates do to our prices? Well, interest rates rising put downward pressure on prices. It's going to lower the purchasing power of buyers, so they're not going to be able to afford as much, which means they can't spend as much on your home. Whatever you're asking for, it might start to come down a little bit. And so we will see downward pressure. I'm going to reflect that with a red arrow pushing down. So no longer are the interest rates raising us up like they were in the past, like helping up the prices. They are starting to go thumbs down on prices. Interest rates are pushing downward on prices right now and into the future. Okay, so now we know about interest rates. What about inventory? What's going to happen in the future for inventory? Well, what we can see here is our typical new listings. Each year, it's cyclical. This is Orange County. This applies to the rest of the United States as well, though. You typically will see a decreased amount of inventory in the holidays every year where there's not as many homes on the market because people don't want to sell during the holidays. They want to spend time with their family. But come February and January, everything starts to go up. They continue to go up into the spring and then somewhat level out during the summer and spring. Well, we're about to hit that time. We're now at the end of January, going into February, and we should be expecting to see new inventory, start to go up, as it always does every year, even after the pandemic started. So now we've got downward pressure from from interest rates already, but inventory going up will also cause downward pressure. There's more competition for you sellers out there. At the moment, right now, there are hardly any homes on the market, and it allows you to ask whatever you want from the buyers, and unfortunately for them, they have to oblige in order to purchase your home. But if inventory rises, it's not going to be the same. Now, there is one caveat here, which I will acknowledge. If inventory moves really quickly, as in we keep on seeing median days on market at like 8 or 7 or 6 or something crazy, then there might not be as much downward pressure from inventory. But if it doesn't, that means that homes last longer on the market and have to continue to compete with each other in order to get purchased by a buyer. Okay, so we've got interest rates going up and inventory going up, putting downward pressure on prices, right? So 2 thumbs down from interest rates and inventory on prices. Now, the only thing now that will be backing us will be demand. If demand continues to increase and match our inventory, then we won't see as much downward pressure on prices, but it's only one thing that's backing everything. And I think that's the point that I'm trying to make here, is you're riding into this market with one true factor that is holding up these, I'll say it, crazy prices. Everybody agrees that the prices have been crazy over the past few years. And now you're only going to have one thing that is backing that up. Now, a side note about interest rates, if you did watch the Q&A session with Jerome Powell, you will hear him say that they have room to raise interest rates because unemployment is so low. Now, the Federal Reserve has a dual mandate. They have to keep inflation low, and then they also are controlled, and then they also have to have employment be as high as possible. Now, if employment's high as possible and inflation is seemingly out of control given the current CPI status, then they're going to be raising, they have the ability in his mind to raise rates kind of as much as they want, as much as they need to in order to get inflation under control. That doesn't bode well for anybody who is using a loan. And in your case, as a seller, that takes out a lot of your market. A lot of the people that are purchasing homes need to use a loan. And unfortunately, if this happens, you're not going to be able to cater to that many people. Now, does that mean that I think the real estate market is just going to crash? No, not at all. That's not what I think. But it is worth considering as a seller that you now have 2 new factors working against price increases in the future. Interest rates and inventory. In the past, they were helping prop up the market. They were making everything go really high. You got all this appreciation. You could sell your home for whatever you want. And now in the future, it is pointing that the cyclical nature of inventory will be working against you. And now the big thing, interest rates in the future of this year will rise and actually have already been rising. And those two things will be working against your prices. So what does this mean for sellers? If you don't want to sell right now, you have no reason to, then obviously don't, right? Real estate will continue to do well over the long term. You shouldn't just sell because of a financial reason necessarily. I'll say case by case. Some people should. But if you are in a situation where you've needed to sell your home, or you've thought about it for the past 2 years, or maybe you need to sell your home in order to buy the new one, now is the perfect time to sell your home. And the reason why is because not only are you able to get high prices, but you can avoid the future interest rate hikes that are expected to continue to go on in the future. Now, on top of that, you're able to sell your home in like 7 days right now. And that's crazy to begin with. But with the amount of bidding wars that are going on, you have the leverage to ask for a lease back. If you don't know what that is, it's where the buyer allows you to stay in your property after you sell it for maybe a month, 2 months, 3 months, a year, maybe 2 years, who knows? They might charge you rent, or in a lot of times right now, a lot of cases, they're not charging you anything because they need their offer accepted, and it helps make their offer look better to you. It buys you time to look for a new property, and that's really important to consider given where we are in the year right now. So I'm going to share my screen with you again. Right now, we are in the moment where inventory is going to be picking back up. If we see it right here, inventory will start to spike back up in the cyclical nature that it always does, even during COVID, even during the start of the pandemic. And if that happens, that means that you are able to have the peace of mind that I already sold my property, I withdrew all the funds that I needed to, and now I'm sitting here waiting for a good home while I take advantage of my lease back. Ultimately, why wait for more competition? Why wait for the momentum to finally swing the other way with those two new downward pressures that are going to be pushing against prices? And why wait for buyers to be able to spend less with their increased interest rates? If you have a home and you're wanting to sell to make the most amount of money you possibly can while having the protection of knowing what comes next and not run into all of the uncertainty that comes with this new market in 2022, then now is the perfect time to take your money off the table and laugh your way all the way to the bank, or laugh your way all the way to a new home. Hopefully this gives you more of a reason why all these real estate people might be hounding you saying, sell your home now. It's not just because we need more inventory. It's because it's in your best interest, in my opinion, to do so. I personally believe that there is no better time to sell than right now in the near future, because you're avoiding rising interest rates if you're going to buy after you sell. You're avoiding the increased inventory and increased competition you will run into. And you get to take advantage of the incredible appreciation that you guys have all accumulated over the past 2 years. So you got to do what you got to do and what makes you happy. But ultimately, if you want me to check out your situation, feel free to get in contact with me. I would be happy to help you and your family out. All right, that's been today's video. I hope you found it useful. And if you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. It helps me out a ton. Also, be sure to follow Andrew Parker Realty on all social media for more property tours, market updates, and real estate tips. And finally, if you have any questions or comments of your own, be sure to leave them in the comment section below, or shoot me a text or DM. I'd be happy to respond or make a video answering the questions that you guys have. All right, I'll see you in the next one.